Hi, Milton. What's happening? Milton, we're going to need to go ahead and move you downstairs into storage B.
No,
we
I was told I
have
could not.
some new people coming in, and we need all the space we can get.
But there's no space.
So if you could just go ahead and pack up your stuff and move it down there, that would be terrific.
I was told
okay?
I could stay. Excuse me. I believe you have my stapler.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh, the internal scoops at CNN keep getting juicier and juicier. Nearly every single one of these internal CNN scoops that we've covered from John Nicosia at News Politics on Twitter, well, nearly every single one of them have turned out to be true. Every single one except for one. That Brian Stelter's days at CNN were numbered, and that he was on the chopping block, that he didn't have too much time left, and the new leadership or the new ownership group at CNN were not only displeased with Brian Stelter, but that they're actually on the record in a direct quote calling Brian Stelter a cancer on the network. And of course the report was that Brian Stelter was to be fired. Well, folks, I said that what was claimed in that report still hasn't become reality, but it seems as though that doesn't discredit the report. It's just a matter of time. It hasn't happened yet. And the most recent report suggests that Brian Stelter, quote, is down to weeks, if not days, at CNN. At least that's what the most recent report says. Brian Stelter's days are numbered. And I don't know exactly how to feel about this yet. I mean, it's hard to feel anything really because nothing's happened yet. But very soon we might have a mainstream media. No Mr. Potato Head. No little Bri Stelter. So of course, let me update you guys on what's going on. Let's roll the tape. All right, friends, here's the report. Baked potato. Brian Stelter, quote, down to weeks, if not days left at CNN. Report. Is CNN's resident potato on the chopping block too? Brian Stelter's days are numbered at CNN, according to former breaking news editor for the Washington Examiner. Here we got John Nicosia once again. Source. Stelter is, quote, down to weeks, if not days left at CNN. They go on. He is everything that reminds the new owners of the Zucker era they desperately want to get past. More to come. They continue. Management is confident that Stelter is the one sharing the internal pushback to fellow media reporters while simultaneously stirring discontent within the ranks. Kind of interesting. Remember when little Chrissy Cuomo got fired, and then little Chrissy Cuomo's name resurfaced in the media with a brand new multi-million-dollar lawsuit that Chris Cuomo launched against the network, and Brian Stelter said this?
He was fired, and there were reports that he wasn't going to get paid the millions of dollars that were going to be on the remainder of his contract. So as a source said to me earlier today, he was trying to burn the place down. He was going to court trying to burn the place down and claiming that he had incriminating information about Zucker and Gullist.
Well, apparently, now that little Bri Stelter's on the chopping block, he's trying to do the exact same thing. Management is confident that Brian Stelter is the one sharing internal pushback to fellow media reporters and simultaneously stirring discontent within the ranks. Little Brian Stelter is such an angry potato that he's leaking stuff to the press and stirring discontent, almost like a mutiny, against the new ownership group. I swear these little media brats are the worst, constantly virtue signaling about how such good human beings they are, yet all they do is lie and peddle in fake news and cause drama, mistreat their producers and employees, act like a bunch of divas, and little petulant children when they don't get what they want. I mean, Brian, are you surprised? You have done nothing but craft an image for yourself out there in the media as one of the most biased and dishonest hacks in the mainstream media. You did that yourself. You did that to yourself. And now you're surprised and angry and fighting back as Judgment Day approaches? What did you think was going to happen? That the mainstream media would continue to be this left-wing cesspool forever? And that there would never be a cultural shift against your kind? And eventually the white blood cells that naturally always emerge would never come for you? It's a delusion of grandeur, folks. This guy is totally delusional. Just like when he was completely delusional with the historic, record-breaking collapse and demise of CNN Plus, the biggest media failure probably in American media history.
Let me try out a theory on you, Matt, which is it's too early to know if this product, if this service was a success or a failure. You got all the haters today saying this thing was a failure. I don't know if we can even ever assess that because it just simply didn't have enough time because of the management's change in direction. And at the end of the day, if you buy something, if you buy a giant media company, you get to do whatever you want with it. But it does mean there's a lot of suffering for employees and, frankly, disappointment among subscribers as a result.
And this guy, who was one of the headliners, him and Chris Wallace, unable to bring more than 10,000 viewers a day after $300 million was spent, probably a good chunk of it, on ads to promote this platform, couldn't bring more than 10,000 people in a day to watch, and he's surprised that he's now on the chopping block. That's the worst part about these media hacks. They get put in these positions of power, they just randomly get selected. The network then promotes them and they think they're the top dog. What Brian Stelter doesn't seem to understand is that if he was in an actual meritocratic world, let's say if Brian Stelter was a YouTuber, his little, I don't know what he gets these days, 400, 500, 600,000 viewers, peak viewers. I'm pretty sure it's actually even less than that at this point. Let me check, especially in the key demo. So here's the headline. Brian Stelter's reliable sources on CNN draws lowest rating since 2019. Stelter's show logged just 580,000 viewers last Sunday, a mere 73,000 viewers in the all-important 25 to 54-year-old demographic. So basically, Brian Stelter's getting 600,000 views, but most of that is just like in old folks' homes and airports. He's only getting 73,000 viewers in the key demographic of 25 to 54. That is abysmal. But anyways, he's getting around 600,000 views, let's say, every single day, or at least every one of his segments, but most of it is carried by the network. His success is directly off of CNN's back. If Brian Stelter was to be a YouTuber, and he was to enter this space, this guy would be getting like 100 views per video. Now, he'd probably get a whole lot more now because obviously he goes from CNN and then brings over some of his viewers to YouTube. But in an environment where Brian Stelter is just running purely off of his talent and has no name recognition, and he puts himself out there on the market, he would get no viewers. And if he started a YouTube channel, even after his CNN rise to fame, he probably still would get less views than I do. And I'm one of the smaller guys. There is no way that Brian Stelter would have a massive rise to fame like some of these other leftist creators. There's just no way. And the ego on these people who work their way through the corporate ladder, like in Brian Stelter's situation, brown nose people like Jeff Zucker, and somehow, it completely baffles me, achieve massive success at networks. And then the egos that they develop, it's just so ridiculous. But the beautiful thing is they're falling, they're dropping like flies. You know, weekly, we used to cover Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and Brian Stelter stuff, just some of the ridiculous garbage that they were spewing. But have you noticed we haven't made a Don Lemon video in months? The most recent video with Don Lemon that we made was with Karine Jean-Pierre, and Don Lemon was actually asking some good questions in that case, and he had a very stern face. That's because the era of these woke, garbage, biased, dishonest media actors is coming to an end, and especially at CNN with the new ownership group. If Don Lemon is on his best behavior and all of a sudden isn't saying all of the wacko garbage that he was getting away with under Jeff Zucker, well then you know that something is changing. If all of a sudden you turn on CNN and they're acting at least a whole lot more honestly than they were previously, that's a trend that we've noticed, well then you know something's changing. When Brian Stelter's on the chopping block and most likely going to be out of a job here soon, and even the Washington Post now is forced to remove Taylor Lorenz from feature staff after false claims and story, if even mainstream news outlet bully Taylor Lorenz, fake news artist Taylor Lorenz, serial doxer and harasser and cancel culture queen Taylor Lorenz, with all of the power that she had, and the mainstream New York, California press with all of the power that she seemingly wielded, for her to now be going down too, this is a trend, folks. These previously untouchable media figures are dropping one by one as this cultural pendulum continues to shift in the right direction. It's good versus evil, and in the end, good always wins, because humanity itself, for the most part, is good. And these evil, dishonest, terrible media actors, well, their day in the spotlight is coming to an end, or probably a better way to say it is, that spotlight is dimming. They'll always exist. MSNBC will probably continue to be MSNBC, but the spotlight, the microphone, and the amplification of their voices is diminishing each and every day. And eventually, once the mainstream legacy press dissolves into utter irrelevancy, common sense conservatism will dominate, just like it already does on YouTube. These people cannot thrive without dishonesty, propaganda, and complete control over the flow of information. And honestly, while there's a lot of negative, it's a beautiful thing to see this shift and to see this change in real time. I'm counting the days until I can make another follow-up video where Brian Stelter has officially been fired. That's what I got for you guys though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.